Oh, a new item. Oh, that one's keystone. Oh, that's a lot of... What the fuck is that? Hi there, Zizaran here. There's a new shield called Machination. It's got a lot of keystone. You could call it the PhD shield or the keystone shield, and people will probably understand what you're talking about. And Mattiel in my chat was like, "Oh, Ziz, did you think about using Divine Flesh with Temper of War?" And I was like, "Fuck, that's a really good idea." So basically this video is going to be explaining the build I'm doing, explaining the shield, and just a little bit of what we're gonna do. So this is the shield. It has Corrupted Soul, which is 20% life as extra ES, and the half of the damage. The Corrupted Soul doesn't really matter, and is generally just a downside of the shield, in at least the way I'm using it, because it's giving me extra energy shield that I don't want. Next is Divine Flesh, which is probably the most important keystone. And Divine Flesh basically gives us that half of our damage, half of fire, cold, and lightning is taken as chaos damage. This is very, very big because now it's not on a Legion Jewel. And that means I can have a Legion Jewel, which is giving me Tempered by War, which is the other half of cold and lightning damage is taken as fire. And specifically, these are not mentioning from hits. That means it's including degens. That means that I don't need cold or lightning resist, and is generally the purpose of the shield. Now, next up, we have Everlasting Sacrifice. And basically what this does is that whenever you reach full energy shield, you sacrifice all ES, and you gain +5 max stress. This was actually very, very hard to achieve, and I wasn't actually planning on having that at all. I wasn't planning on having that permanently. I wasn't planning on having that more than like once every 20 seconds. It's like, oh, okay, I get a nice buff now and again. However, yesterday, sort of as a stream, we were just like throwing around ideas of how we could get it. There was things like the Sorrow Flask, Sorrow the Divine Flask, and a few other things that we could have done. But there wasn't really a good way to get it where it would stay up for bosses. And that's what I really wanted to solve. Because I wanted this to be something that, you know, I can farm Uber Elder and Awakener with. And then we looked at the Demon Stitcher gloves, but I'm not a caster, so do I like switch to a Bladefall build, or am I able to keep the idea, which like the initial idea was doing Brutus Lead Sprinkler with strength stacking, and we can get into that later. Then I think Sai started throwing around, ooh, what if you put Vitality on mouse button 1 and have Vitality Aura turn off and on and off and on? And that sort of worked, but then we started thinking, is there anything with lower cooldown? And it turns out Corrupting Fever, the new skill at level 1, it only uses 97 life to turn on. And when I throw it with a second wind, well, it should have like 24% cooldown recovery and be pretty good. But, well, this is what it looks like now. And now, while I'm mapping and moving, I have it up pretty much all the time. At least a very, very large amount. And this will, if I get a little bit of cooldown recovery and a little bit more second wind level, this will be up actually quite a lot. And again, this was something I wasn't even planning to build around, because the build is already very, very strong without it. The last ones are Immortal Ambition, which is basically Slayer Overleach, and you get very, very a small amount of like ES Overleach or ES Leech. This is good and makes it, I am recharging faster than when I am actually killing things. And then we also have Valve Pact. Both of these two last ones are sort of also bad things, but anyway, Valve Pact is basically that the total recovery from Leech is doubled. So that means that I actually do have very, very nice Overleach. There are some issues. If I ever fire like Blood Rage, I am degenning very, very heavy, because normally the way I regen is that I'm using my ES recharge rate on life. So I can run around like this, and this doesn't consider as me taking damage, so my ES recharge is still applying. But whenever I am like standing in degens or anything like that, it's actually quite painful. Quite painful. Because I really rely on the Valpact Leech. So I actually don't think this build would be very, very good for lab or anything with traps or like that type of damage over time. It's still sort of scary, because I don't currently have a lot of fist mitigation. When I'm mapping and using my war cries, I'm a chieftain, so I do get a lot of endurance charges back. So why do we do this, and what am I achieving? Well, so I'm able to like completely ditch cold and lightning rest. I don't need to get that anywhere in my gear. I don't care about it at all. And obviously for a strength stacker, this is really nice because it gives me more room to just go for strength on items. All I need is to get chaos rest. And that opens up for, even though like my gear is actually quite scuffed now and I have 1400 life. And just to like do a quick explanation of how strength stacking works, it's because of Brutus Lead Sprinkler. I get 4 to 7 fire damage attacks with this weapon per 10 strength. And whenever we're able to get like 2000 strength, we're able to have a large amount of damage. There's a lot of other ways you could do this build using the shield as well. You could probably do Bladefall. Blade Blast would be really, really good as well. Some people might be thinking things like Herald of Agony or Righteous Fire, but do remember we have Valpact, so we can't regen. You have to leech or get life gain on hit. So sure, you could maybe do a life gain on hit Cyclone Herald of Agony, but still. And what about our defenses? Well, when we have the Immortal Ambition buff up, I have 85 Fire Rest and 90 Chaos. I'm actually hopefully going to be able to get at least 86 and maybe even 87 Fire Rest. And that means I'm basically immortal from elemental damage. It would take a very, very large elemental hit to bypass the high rest there. And something that's really nice is that anything that is a cold, I don't think there is any lightning pen, but any cold pen, so like the shaper balls and stuff like that, will do, well, pretty much literally no damage because it's already accounting for the fact that it's supposed to penetrate the player. But seeing as it penetrates cold rest, that doesn't get transferred to penetrating cold rest as chaos. And even penetrating fire we're sort of protected against because half of the fire damage is taken as chaos as well. So it's really, really cool. Now, to deal with physical, I'm going to have some endurance charges. I currently only have max 4. I would like to get more, but more importantly, what I really want to get is more max like physical damage taken as fire. So I can get some on my helmet, I can get some on my chest, and I can double corrupt the chest double corrupt the shield, and best corruption would be fire damage taken as fire and damage taken as chaos. That would be insane. Now, a very important thing to remember for this, if you get fist damage taken as cold or fist damage taken as lightning, that is bricked because that will be taken as cold. You cannot double convert on damage taken. You can only double convert on damage given. So don't get that. If you like vol the shield like this and get fist damage taken as lightning, don't use it. I will eventually make like a more in-depth build guide for this. This is more like explaining the build and how it works. And it's a fairly complicated thing in PoE. I'm also using 2 Born of Chaos. Currently have like a meh cluster jewels. Just give me mana leech and strength there. And currently I actually don't have that much damage, but I'm also only level 74 and I'm already fairly tanky. Once I'm able to get like really good gear, so that would be like a belt with like 66 strength or 67, I can't remember exactly what the max you can get is, but like tier 1 strength with hopefully high chaos rest, but also percentage strength. That's really what I want, is the percentage strength. And eventually I can get like a really, really good percentage strength on other pieces of gear. Currently I basically only have my chest. I should hopefully get like 2000 strength. That is obviously a large amount of damage. But as I get higher level, I can either do Elemental Overload or I can do crit. I'm most likely going to do crit. But EO isn't too far away either, and then I don't need to invest more points into that. So we'll see. I'll probably do EO early, but I obviously want a large more amount of life because that's incredibly effective on a build with this much damage mitigation. So far, the main thing that I've noticed be scary is the Porcupines that are just pure fizz. So I'm a little bit scared of just a large amount of burst damage like that. But we should be very, very safe against that once they get a little bit more Fizz's Fire, and the more endurance charges will help as well. As for the build in action, I'm, as I said, kind of too scared to use the Blood Rage. But I do kind of want Frenzy Charges. I'll most likely end up with something like Cast on Damage Taken, Cold Snap or something. I haven't really, I'm so low level, so obviously I haven't done very high tier maps yet, but I've been one-shotting the bosses with my Valground Slams so far. Obviously it's very, very nice for this build that we can exert Valground Slams now. So that's what I've been doing so far, and yeah, damage has seemed pretty good. It's obviously a fairly button-intensive build because I do have the, well, I mean, it's not like I need to do anything for Corrupting Fever, that autocast, but I do have the War Cries that need to be pretty much constantly up. I've also chosen not to go for a Val Ancestor War Chief Totem. The reason for that is I'd rather just have more uptime on Valground Slam. For the way I'm playing right now, that seems to be the best way. I'm most likely going to do double Ancestor War Chief, but I don't have enough Jewelers to get 2 an extra red socket on that. And I'd rather chrome it with jewelers, seeing as it's an int item. But yeah, this is pretty much what the build looks like in action, and it's been, I think it'll be very strong. There's a lot I can do to improve this as well. And it will be very, very similar to like old Zebakwa tanks, which was just the Divine Flesh. But now it will be kind of similar to the Ellie tank of an Aura Sacker in some ways, because obviously I basically get close to 90 max res. So let's see how the damage is against the boss here, but it's been pretty good so far. Cool, good stuff. Anyway, I just wanted to do like not a build guide, but just a quick showcase and quick explanation of what I'm doing, because it is a very complicated build. I'll make a more in-depth one eventually. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you guys are enjoying all the videos. Sub if you like the video, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.